Hi, everyone, and welcome tonight to our amazing alumni panelists from Binghamton University. Go Binghamton University, woohoo! Very excited to have you all with us. And we're in challenging times right now. Students, right, as we look at COVID and what's going on. And the Fleishman Career Center decided what better thing to do than to get some experts to help our students work through this very difficult time. So I am Denise Lorenzetti. I am the director of the Fleishman Center. And what we'd like to do is, before we get into the panel, is talk about some logistics. First, logistics is we want this to be very interactive. So please, as you have questions, just put it right in the Q&A. We have people that are monitoring the questions, and the chat feature is actually disabled. So again, please put it into the Q&A. And then also, the one thing that stinks about Zoom is you can see us, but we can't see you. So the way we're gonna get interactive is we're gonna ask you some questions via some polls. So you will see those come up in a few minutes. So as they come up, please don't hesitate to answer them, because it'll give us some information about you, so the panelists know how to answer some questions based on your answers to the polls. So we'll get to it, to our panelists. If each of you can just say who you are, what your name is, what company or where you work, and what your role is, that would be fabulous. And then you have to end it with one fun fact from Binghamton University of something fabulous that you remember, because I'm sure there were no bad times at Binghamton University. So Chris, how about we start with you?
Hi, everyone. First and foremost, thank you for joining us tonight. Really excited to connect with each of you. I'm Chris Gaube. I am a 2009 graduate of Binghamton University. I got my bachelor's in English in 2009, and then also graduated in 2011 with my MBA from the School of Management. Nowadays, I am the director of integrated retail marketing at Nike, working out of our New York HQ. You can see here, this background is actually the second floor of our New York HQ. I haven't been there in 7 months, so I miss it dearly, but we have a basketball court on our second floor, so I miss it, and I put it on during meetings. But yeah, my family, I guess my fun fact about Binghamton University is it's almost like our family university. I think we have, across my immediate family, we have, I forget what it is, either 10 or 11 degrees from the university. So every single person in my family went to Binghamton, including my wife. So Binghamton is near and dear to me and my family, and I'm excited to talk a little bit more about my experience with you guys today.
And also, I'll just say it because we had a little chat. Chris has a 9-month-old, so a little busy on that end too, juggling work and personal life. I think that's one of the things that's been really crazy about COVID, is there's no split now between work and personal life. It has completely meshed together, which has been interesting. So
no more boundaries.
There are no boundaries whatsoever. And we were talking about you know, how at first, for the first couple of weeks, you're trying to hide your kids and hide your dog and hide this, and then now it's basically I think the nice part about it is you get to know people on a very personal level. So Taris, how about you?
Happy Thursday and happy October. I am Taris Rodney. That's Taris like Paris with a T. I am a 2008 graduate of Binghamton University. I was a double major in English and philosophy. And then after Binghamton, I went to law school at Howard University School of Law. Currently, I'm an attorney at the New York City Administration for Children's Services. Outside of work, I am also a mom of an almost 19-month-old named Amara. She'll be 19 months tomorrow. And my fun fact from Binghamton is that my junior year, I had 3 different jobs. I was a resident assistant in Old Dickinson Hall. I was a bus monitor for OCC Transit, and I also was a bouncer at a club in downtown Binghamton called Club V. So very, very busy college years.
That is great. Where was Club V located? I can't remember.
Main Street, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. Hey, that's quite an experience there. There was a good resume builder right there. Arel, how about you?
My name's Arel Moodie. I graduated in 2005, and I'm the president of my own company. It's called Reed Oak. It's evolved over the years and kind of now is an umbrella company to different brands that I own, College Success Program, Art of Likability, True Speaking Success. And basically what I do is I've been doing professional speaking for about 14 years now and impacting people through the written word. So I've written books, best-selling books. I travel to colleges, companies, do presentations, leadership development. And of recently, I've been doing a lot of coaching and consulting for people who want to get better at public speaking, specifically entrepreneurs and executives, to use it to build their brand and attract high quality clients. So I love the work. I love to be here. Binghamton, I like to, everywhere I go, almost every presentation I've ever given, I somehow reference Binghamton because Angelo Mastrangelo, who's a professor who recently retired, was my first business mentor. I met my two best friends in college and my first business partner in college. I discovered what I wanted to do, which was entrepreneurship in college at Binghamton. And at a frat party, I met my wife. So Binghamton has been just incredibly just fundamental in my adult development. So happy to be here and be able to give back with people way smarter than me on this panel.
That's great. Thank you. And Justin.
Hi. Yeah, I have to follow all those up. So that's gonna be really difficult here. But thanks for letting me be on this panel and to be able to talk here. So I'm Justin Joseph. I graduated from the Watson School back in 2005 with my computer science degree, and then got my MBA in 2006 from the School of Management. Right now, I actually run product strategy for a cloud software company called Workday. So I run product strategy for industries and some really fun ones, the technology, media, and professional business service industries, which allows me to really just develop, what do we build, what kind of acquisitions do we make, and who do we really partner with all over the world. So it's been a really fun ride. As far as, because we'll get into all these kind of fun topics later, as far as fun facts are concerned, I guess I have a few, but I'll narrow it down to one, which I think is something that I kind of love, is that I actually finished my undergrad and grad in 4 years at Binghamton. So I went all throughout, got my MBA, so undergrad and grad all in 4 years, which says basically a lot about the amount of work and relationships, which is carried on now for 15 years since I've graduated from my undergrad.
That's impressive, because that's you were computer science, right? It was computer science and
not as easy, yeah.
I remember that. So I'll have to say what my fun fact is. So I'm an alumna too of the university. Graduated just a few years prior to you in the early 90s in the Watson School of Engineering degree with my MBA. I was out in industry for 25 years. And then I came to my second career of heading up the Career Center here. And I'm having a ton of fun working with the students. So that's my fun fact at Binghamton University. So let's get into some questions. As I said, it's a challenging environment right now that we're in, that the students are in. COVID has rocked our world in so many different ways. And what we want to do is we want to get a sense of, what class year are you in? Are you freshman, sophomore, junior, senior? You can see the list there. And that way we know how to kind of tailor our question, our answers. So if you can fill that out, that would be fabulous. All right, well, I think as we're waiting there, what was it? Oh, it went off screen. Oh, there we go. All right, great. All right, so I just want to say I was right. I always have to say that because no one believes me I'm ever right. But we were thinking that a lot of you might be juniors, seniors, and obviously, master's degrees. And, this is a hard time for you because trying to find a job and in a difficult time. So our first question to the panelists is, tell us a little bit about the environment that you graduated in. Was it tough economic times? You know, was it easier times? And maybe any similarities or differences that there may be that you can help the students with. I know one difference that I can 100% guarantee you: you did not graduate in a pandemic. Did I get that right? All right, cool. See? Right again, twice. That's it. I'm done for the rest of my life. So how about we open it up to Taris?
I graduated from Binghamton in 2008, which was the beginning of the recession. And I went straight into law school, so I didn't feel it initially, but I did graduate in 2011 from law school, and that was like in the heart of the recession. I think a third of my class or more was unemployed, including myself. I took the New York bar in July. I got my results in November and I passed on the first try, but I still was unemployed. And I had to do some temporary attorney work initially. So I did document review in January of 2012 all the way through July. And then I found my first job. But my first job actually wasn't an attorney job. I had to take a paralegal position because all of the attorney jobs were very limited. They were putting everyone on furlough because they didn't have the money to pay people's salaries. So a number of newly minted attorneys were becoming paralegals in law firms and securities firms. So I worked at a securities firm as an employment paralegal for 2.5 years. And then I joined my current employer as an attorney and litigator.
So I think in summary, and we're telling the students this, you know, when you graduate in hard economic times, you may not be getting your dream job right out of graduation, and you really have to keep an open mind to just at least putting your foot in the door until
Absolutely.
Until something does come up. Anyone else want to share their story on, you know, hard time? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So it's really interesting. I've taken the entrepreneurial approach. I've never actually had a quote unquote real job. Since graduating Binghamton, I've ran my own company and worked for my own company. And, you know, it was difficult, but here's the one thing that I'll say for anyone who's interested in entrepreneurship. Up economy, down economy, there's always a sector doing very well. It just always exists. So in this economy, if you wanted to get into backyard inflatable pools, driveway basketball hoops, selling weights, though you can't buy those things right now. Those are some of the more difficult things to buy. So just throwing out to Chris, if you guys can sell any Nike branded stuff, you guys can add a couple billion to the bottom line there, because you can't find it. Like, you just can't find it anywhere because they're sold out. It's so interesting. So one of the things that I love about entrepreneurship is that if you really are entrepreneurial and open to the journey, you can actually look for ways to apply your skill set and get into an industry. So when I graduated, it was the beginning of in 2005. And then when 2008 hit, the economy tanked. But what was fascinating for my business specifically is that typically in down economies, people go back to school. You see an increase in enrollment typically. So when I was speaking primarily in the college market, I actually saw a boom in my business. So in 2000, which is weird to say, but 2009, 10, and 11 were actually the best years of my business for many, many years, because we had such a high demand, because we were servicing an industry that had a high demand and high need. So I would encourage all of you that are on the entrepreneurial spectrum that in any economy, up or down, there are industries that are doing well. And your job is to look for the opportunity, look for the pivots, and look for the ways you can apply your current skill set into what's needed. And you'll be surprised that there's always an opportunity if you find it and look for it.
And all I have to say, another good business right now is plexiglass, because my goodness, we had to buy that for our office. And I was like, how much does plexiglass cost? Let's go get a shower curtain or something, you know?
Sell plexiglass and you'll sell it for 2 years. You won't ever have to work again. Air purifiers,
right?
PP.
Yeah.
It's a great business to be in.
Yeah,
hand sanitizer.
handstand it, right? Yeah, I mean, Arel, that's a great point on the pivoting, because you can, when you're in your own business, where's the need, right? And this showed us where the need was, and places you would never ever imagine. How's that? So, Chris, how about you?
Yeah, so similar to Taris, I graduated from Binghamton in 2009, which was the beginning of the recession, and I went straight to my master's. So I went straight to the School of Management and did my MBA. It was very, very interesting to learn about the economic crisis and financial meltdown while I was in business school. And, I was a student athlete at Binghamton, grew up a diehard athlete, loved Nike as an athlete. And so it was my dream to work at Nike. And I think the unemployment rate was like over 10% when I entered the job market. So it was actually not too dissimilar than what we'll be facing currently. And I frankly didn't have many connections at Nike. I spent a lot of time networking and building relationships, but didn't have much luck as far as landing a job, a corporate job at Nike. And so I took a major leap of faith. I took a role as a retail associate at one of our Nike stores, actually in the Westchester Mall. So it was, by no means was it on my career map to be a retail associate at the company. I had, illusions of grandeur, of amazing things that I would do, but it was without question the best decision that I ever made. And I think, my message would just be a couple things. One, when you're young and fresh out of school, that's the time in your life where you can really bet on yourself. If you don't have, mortgages and families and things, like, you can really use that time to just bet on yourself and trust the training that you've gotten at the university and how that's positioned you for success. And then, I think the other thing is it's a long game, the career game. To make a golf analogy, it's certainly not a short game. So it's more about just assessing, what are the experiences in short term that can help you reach your long-term goal. And so for me at the time, it was getting retail experience and gaining, a firsthand view of the consumer and really understanding the business from the ground up. So that was the path that I took.
I really appreciate sharing that, because we have so many students that come into our career center and their first question is, how do I get my dream job, right? And one of the things I think all of us could say is it's many years before you land that dream job. I don't think I've talked to a few people that are like, yeah, I graduated and boom, I was it. But most people follow that same path. It takes a little while, right? So Justin.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And honestly, for me, because I graduated in 2005 with a computer science degree, there was actually a crisis that occurred while I was in school and just prior, which was the tech bubble. If some of you may have heard of this, right? So, the .com era, everything went to .com. Google, Amazon, they all started in the late 90s. AOL.com doesn't really exist, but right. So I had all these grand ideas of making it big in the technology industry, which now, 15 years later, for sure has happened. But it was just decimated. All those .com and technology companies just died. And I had to figure out, as I was getting really close to graduating, this market looked kind of terrible. So then I switched to finance and got my MBA. And then there was a financial crisis.
You hit them all, Justin.
Yeah,
good.
So really, the main thing is uncertainty is always going to be there. There is no such thing as like a sure bet at all. And Arel kind of mentioned this as far as why his business did so well. Is people are looking at skills. And so what I started to do was essentially look at, okay, what opportunities are out there, even if they're not my dream job, similar like what Chris and Taris were mentioning, and how do I just focus on skill and skill development? So my first job out of school actually was at the school. I worked at Binghamton for about 2 years, and I taught and I worked in student affairs. And then little by little, I took the skills that I learned from there and applied it to the next role, and then the next role, and then the next role. And that, I think, has been a fundamental thing that I've taken over the last 15 years is it's not just one job. It's because none of us can predict the future. I guess all of us could never have predicted this year. We certainly cannot predict next year either. But what we can control and what we can predict are the skills that we can try to acquire. And you start to use those little by little and put those together.
And I so appreciate, and I hope the students that are listening, I'm sure they do, because so many are worried. They're talking to us and they're very worried and concerned of, what are we going to do? And it's amazing, the 4 of your stories, right, of just being very open and adaptable, creative, and you find your way, which is great. Arel, we do have a question that came in for you of, let's see here. If you are reselling, how can you scale your income to go past just being a small side hustle to a full-on business?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a long answer and a short answer. I'll give you the short answer of it. A lot of it has to do with what your margins are on the reselling. Really, when it comes to scale, especially if you're doing online products or kind of online selling, you really have to understand your margins so you can understand how much you can put into advertisement. Because ultimately, paid advertisement or influencing advertisement, whether it's Facebook ads or Instagram ads or influencer marketing, there's a cost that's going to be involved. And ideally, whatever you're selling, you need to be able to either break even on your ad spend with that first sale. And then if they buy again from you again, you can make your profit on the back end, or create a profit margin on the first sale based on your ad spend. So ultimately, if you find out you're only making, $4 per item you sell, you either have to find an item you can resell that offers a higher profit margin, or understand the principles that you're using to resell so successfully, at least even as a side hustle, and scale it with your own product, or going to a distributor and figuring out how to create your own thing and then having a wider margin. The biggest thing I can tell you with anything when it comes to selling specifically, it's understanding your margins. What's my costs? What are my inventory? What are my fixed? What are my variable costs? Then how much can I spend and still make a profit? And if you find yourself with an item where your margin is just too thin, it becomes unscalable. And the only way to scale it is with a higher margin or a completely new product. So that's a short answer. There's a lot more intricacies, but hopefully that alone will get you thinking about the items you're selling, what's selling well, what are your margins, how much can you put in and still get a profit? And ideally what I'll tell you is really understanding. Yeah, if you can understand lifetime value, LTV of a customer, it's super big, because a lot of people will break even or even lose money on that front end because they know the person will buy again and again. Like if it's a repeat consumable, like Kylie Cosmetics, she has makeup. Like I don't use makeup, but my wife does. And I know if one person buys one piece of makeup, they gonna buy some more makeup. So you can do a loss leader and lose on the front end because you get it back on the back end. But if they're buying something like a microphone, and they're probably just going to buy one microphone for a very long time, your margin's got to be there.
Great, thank you. Another question that we have is, what extra curricular programs did you partake in while at Binghamton University? And how did that help you maybe build skills or obtain jobs? Because a lot of times we're talking to students, if they want to get that first job, but we tell them is, well, you got to go do some other things before you land that first job. So what other things did you do while at Binghamton that did help you build skills and land a great job? And Chris, how about you?
I was a student athlete at Binghamton. I competed in intercollegiate athletics and cross country, as well as track and field. And when you're a distance runner as a student athlete, you basically are a 3-sport varsity athlete, because cross country takes place in the fall, indoor track season is in the spring, and then indoor tracks during the winter and outdoor tracks during the spring. And then, of course, the summer, you're getting your base and training for the year. So I think the experience of being a student athlete helped me really value a number of things. One, the value of team. And, for the rest of your career, no matter what, unless you're just doing something solo, you're always going to be a member of a team. And whether that's professionally or a family or friends, you're always going to be a part of a team. So I think the experience of being a part of a team, having shared purpose, values, goals, and relentlessly pursuing them together and collectively was something that really shaped, not only my life, but my career too. And then also at Binghamton, I tried to get involved in a number of things as possible. So I did tour guiding. I worked for the Center for Students with Disabilities. I worked on campus in the Associate Council. So I did filing. But I think just getting involved in as many things as possible was really helpful for me, because I think it gives you just a diverse set of exposure to a lot of different things. And as you grow in your career, that's so valuable, just continuing to sharpen your tools and sharpen your toolkit. I love what Justin said before of just kind of building on those experiences. And so you'll continue to do that no matter what you do and where you go. And so, there's no bad experience, because you're going to learn from them and they're going to help shape the next one.
Great. Taris, how about you?
I was the president for Thurgood Marshall Pre-Law Society, and I kind of geared my entire academic career around going to law school. So I think Thurgood really helped me decide that law school was exactly what I wanted to do. They scheduled annual law school trips around the country to different cities so that we can go and actually sit in law school classes and talk to professors and ask students questions. So that really helped me to narrow down exactly where I wanted to go, what kind of schools I was interested in. So that was helpful. Being a resident assistant, I think, was integral in my leadership skills and in my ability to speak publicly. I knew I wanted to be a litigator and I wanted to be in court, but I had to work on speaking to people, being comfortable speaking in front of groups of people, and being a resident assistant and RA really helps you do that. You have to keep your residents on task. You have to do programming. So that really helped me with the leadership aspect. And then, as I said, I had a number of different jobs on campus and off campus. So that just helped me with networking. And one of my professors from law school told us on our first day in our property class that your network determines your net worth. And I am a firm believer in that. I think having an opportunity to meet people from different backgrounds in different walks of life really helps you to build a network that can potentially be very helpful to you in the future. So just meeting people. I like what Chris said about teamwork. One of my favorite quotes or phrases, catchphrases, is teamwork makes the dream work. And it's so true. Just working together really helps. So Thurgood Marshall really helped me to figure out what law school I wanted to go to, what type of law I was interested in. And being an RA really helped with my leadership skills.
Great. Anyone else want to, Arel or Justin, anything
Yeah, I mean,
else to add?
I could probably add in a little bit there. I totally on board with what Taris said. Taris said on being an RA. I was an OA and RA, and that certainly helped with communication.
Doesn't it help with crisis management too?
Can help with
Absolutely.
crisis management as well. but communication is, and particularly more now than I've noticed even 15 years ago, the ability to communicate well, and communicate at a higher level, right? Outside of just like texting or tweeting, which I will admit I do often as well, but to be able to elevate your communication is extremely critical, especially if you're looking at a career and you're trying to be a professional. Your communication also has to kind of go with that as well. And so speaking to a parent, like if you're an RA or an orientation advisor, you really want to make sure that you speak in an eloquent enough way that's making this parent that they know that their child is going to be in an okay place and that they're going to actually learn at this university. So I know for myself and Taris, I'm sure you took the same away from it as well, was, okay, I need to really work on my communication and be able to drive certain things there. And that's going to be huge. And that's something that you need forever.
You know, the one thing I'll just add to that, because I think everyone said things really, really well, is I would argue, if not equally, your extracurricular experience is equally or more important in terms of relationship building, skill building, things that you will use every day in the real world at an all-time high. There are some classes that I took that literally changed the way I saw the world. And there are some classes that I took that I genuinely may not remember anything about anything in the class. And that's just real talk. But everything about the student groups, I was president of 4 student organizations, you know, everything about dealing with people, marketing, organizing a meeting, getting people to show up to a meeting, getting people to care about the meeting, coming up with good meeting topics, like everything that's involved with it, whether it was the Binghamton Association for Mixed Students, which I was a part of, or Lambda Upsilon Lambda, which is a fraternity I was in, or SIFE, which is now Enactus on campus, or the Latino Greek Council, or Black Dance Repertoire, BDR, which I was a member of, you know, like whatever it is, those skill sets, literally every single day I use something that I gained from there. So for anyone who is a senior, a freshman, wherever you are, you have to join something, because tons of people can have 4.0s and get A's and have no idea how to interact with the real world. But the student groups force that skill set, and that skill set stays with you whatever you do.
Skills. That's it.
Yeah,
Right?
it really, yeah. A lot of times we'll see resumes where students will have the 4.0 and they're really excited to show that 4.0, but there's not a lot of other things. You know, they're really concentrating on solely focusing in on their studies. And Arel, you're so right that it's really a lot of the other things. Employers want a well-rounded individual, right? And so, so anyway, we'll go on. So next poll question is here. So we want to see how COVID may have impacted summer 2020. We know it impacted a lot of individuals in many different ways. So if you did complete an internship in the summer, we're wondering if it was remote or virtual, if it was in person. And unfortunately, we know the third happens sometimes too, where they got rescinded, offered, or were canceled, or the last one of they were not able to find a summer internship at all because of what was going on. So we'll get the results here in a minute. All right, so a lot of people were not seeking, but we did have individuals who did have, let's see what the next one is. Well, there's a tie between remote and, unfortunately, like I said, it was canceled. And it was surprising, actually, and you see that in the numbers, that some people still did have in person. It's typically a small percentage, but there were some that did have in person. So our question is, knowing that, you know, people did have a hard time and things in their internship may have been rescinded, what would you say is one skill that is really, really important that employers are looking for, especially right now during these difficult times? So Justin.
Yeah, I could certainly answer this, because as a software provider, we actually focus on recruiting and recruiting solutions and talent type of solutions. So I meet with a ton of the Fortune 500 companies on a very regular basis, but then also analysts as well. And it's pretty remarkable. There's like 1.8 million jobs that are available, and they narrow back down to like 18 skills that are really what they're recruiting for. It's pretty insane. So, you know, the one thing that I've heard over and over again, it's true for us here at Workday, it's true for almost every company that I know of, is an emphasis on data and data interpretation, data science, understanding systems, right? You've always heard the term knowledge is power. Well, knowledge now is in system form, whether that's coming from your phone or a computer or a database or whatever it might be. understanding how to take that data out, manipulate it in whichever way that you can, whether it's in Excel or whatever, and then being able to project, hey, this is what's actually happening out there. That is by far the number one skill that every company is looking for and has been in the last 10 years. It's absolutely insane. If you just think about in your daily life, the amount of data that you are just generating that's out there. Companies need this and they want to use it. They're not capturing it just for fun. They're capturing it because they want to do something with this, but then they need the people to know what to do with it. And hopefully you can be that person.
Yeah, and the one thing what I'll say with that is some, depending on what degree you're getting, data analytics might not be part of that, but if you can take a class in data analytics or LinkedIn Learning, right? You can go online nowadays. There's so many free classes on this type of topic because it is so important. So, for somebody on their resume to have that, very, very important. Taris, how about from your thoughts on this?
I think from the legal perspective, and a lot of other career areas, your writing ability is very important. So making sure that you pay attention to simple things, grammatical errors, typographical errors. I know because we're getting a lot more comfortable with sending text messages and tweets and those kind of things. There are a number of different acronyms and abbreviations for everything. So just making sure that you focus on your writing ability and being able to communicate efficiently and effectively in writing. I mentioned communication as far as talking to people before. That's extremely important, but your writing ability is very important because you have to write just about everything. If you're communicating via email, if you're sending messages or letters to people, so your writing ability is really important. I know that during the general education portion, the gen eds, you have to take some English courses. So just make sure you take those seriously and practice and hone in on your writing skills because that ability is really important.
That's funny. I know that through my years of working in industry, that you see some emails and you're like, what? Like, that person didn't take the class you were talking about. Arel, how about from your standpoint?
Yeah, so I deal more with people than probably systems. So I would argue one, public speaking is an incredible skill set because if you want to become an authority, if you want to actually advance in your career, typically the person who's getting in front of the room and presenting the information, whether they are the person that did all the work or not, usually gets a lot of the credit. Whether that's fair or not can be argued till the sun comes up and down forever, but it's just there. So I would encourage anyone who, if you're in a systems or data, I think data analytics is going to just be everything. There's a reason why everyone has a, talk to text kind of device because that stuff is so valuable. I think on the people side, public speaking is just, it's one of the best skill sets to get yourself in front of people. It's one of the biggest fears people have. So most people won't compete with you on it. So if you actually can build that skill set, there's a lot less competition and a great way for you to position yourself as a thought leader, as someone who knows what you're talking about, as someone who can lead. So I would encourage everyone to use the public speaking office on campus to take classes that force you to speak. Don't run away from it, run to it. Because ultimately my belief, if I'm looking at trends in the next 10 years, the large majority of people in the workforce will have really horrible interpersonal skills. And the person who focuses on those interpersonal skills, like public speaking, they are just going to have such an advantage because everyone else is shying away from it. So I think you just stay contrarian. If everyone goes left, you go right, and then you have less competition.
So do you think, do you remember in school taking like a public speaking class, or was it more just a learned skill?
For me, it was my leadership in student organizations. So that was my public speaking. Like there would be, like I was a member of BAMS and the president of BAMS, the Binghamton Socially Mixed Students, and we'd have students come in and we'd hold a topic and they'd say, Arel, facilitate it. And I'm like, what? How do I do? Okay. And then you got to figure out how to do that and how to not suck and how to not be boring and how to, keep your personality but be professional. So I think that going back to that leadership is so important because it forces you to be clunky and be horrible when there's no risk at being horrible. Like in college, you think everything is on the table. Like if I fail in college, everything will fail in my life. And literally it's the best time to just suck at everything you do. Like go public speaking, be flimsy and flumsy with your language and get over it when no one cares. Because when you go into the workforce and you have the ability to have confidence at 21, 22, 23, that confidence alone will set you apart from everyone else who's either timid or cocky. And the difference between cocky and confidence is simply that cocky is based off of what I can do and not what I can do. What I could do versus what I can do. And experience is what gives you confidence. And I think if you have that, that is the best thing in the world. Get the experience, speak in student groups, speak in classes, whatever you can do to get in front of other humans, you will crush the industry because most people are running from that skill set.
All right, and before we get to Chris to have his thoughts, I'm going to challenge students that are on this call to put some questions in there, right? You just said this is low risk, right? Or also, come on and ask some questions so I don't have to ask the questions on this piece of paper. All right, Chris, what are your thoughts?
So I'll take a different spin. Obviously, it's been an unbelievable year. Just, really, really difficult in so many different ways from, the political and social unrest, the pandemic, the economics. And so, I think for every one of us, it's really about how do we seek resilience during this time and use this as an opportunity for us to develop strength and power from these difficult circumstances. So I would say grit. For those who have not read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth, I would highly recommend it to your reading list. It's an amazing read. She describes grit as persistence plus passion over time. And I think that is something that is applicable in every facet of your life and every moment in time is just persevering. And every moment in time is truly just that, just a moment in time. So being able to overcome and grow and learn and develop from every experience you have, whether it's good or bad, I think is so key. And, especially this year with all that we are facing, trying to spin it as a positive. How do I grow from this? How do I turn this into a personal strength and a personal development opportunity? So that's something that I think we can all at least try to do during this time.
All right, and so another good skill is to say, oops, I did something wrong. So I did something wrong. Remember at the beginning of this, I said, don't use the chat, use the Q&A. Where was Denise looking for questions? I was looking for questions in the chat versus the Q&A. And there's a lot of Q&A, so sorry. All right, so let's go through some of the Q&As. So I have a question for Chris. I am a senior in the humanities, history, who's interested in MBA program, and I'm interested in his perspective on the jump from humanities to business school and what transition was like, if he felt out of place at first.
It's a great question. Thank you for whoever asked that question. I'll start in saying that don't let anybody tell you that the humanities or the liberal arts do not prepare you for success. In fact, I would argue that they give you exposure to a lot of different things interdisciplinary. And so though less specialized, they kind of make you a bit of a Swiss Army knife. So for me, I studied English during my undergrad, and when I got to business school, there were actually a lot of people that were, had studied business for undergrad or engineering or things that were a little bit more specific or specialized. But, I think the key is just be your authentic self and bring the authentic strengths that you bring to the table. What's awesome in the MBA, if you pursue it, it's done as a part of a cohort. So you take every key class as a part of a team. It's almost like a board of directors, if you will, and each member of that team is strategically selected by the school to bring different strengths to the table. So for me, I knew that my strengths to the table that I brought to the table were leadership, communication, obviously my experience writing, but it was super pivotal and really important for me at the time to, flex those strengths, but also lean on my teammates and lean on others who maybe had strengths that I didn't have, that they could help, lift me up. So, I think that's super key in anything that you do. And I highly recommend, continuing your education, especially during this time of uncertainty. It's a great time to just to continue to round out your skill set. So for me, it worked out great. If you're interested, I would highly encourage you to pursue it.
All right, great. Thanks, Chris. So another student, thank you for taking the time to share your experience with us. As a senior in college, I have some plans after graduation, but these plans seem kind of uncertain because of the situation. How do you handle potential change of plans? And anyone raise your hand if you'd like to answer it. All right, Taris.
Be flexible. That's one of the most important things that you have to do. You have to be flexible. I have control issues, so I have very difficult time with change that's not planned. I like to plan everything. I'm very organized. And when things don't go according to plan, it drives me completely insane. But what you have to do is be flexible. That allows you an opportunity to meld and mold to the changing situations, because if anything is constant in the world, is that things will change. And sometimes our best laid plans don't work out as well as we'd hope. So for this particular instance, or where we are now, I think it's very important to be flexible and be open to discovering some skills that you don't really focus on. So if you're a person that's really big on organization and you thought you wanted to do something, try finding a new niche or some other area that you may be able to capitalize on. Or if you're a person that's very focused on wellness or, yoga or anything you could possibly think of, try to capitalize on those skills and use them for other areas. I think sometimes we are very focused on narrow areas that we've heard of, and we don't consider the number of different things that we could apply for or do. I think a lot of companies are having difficult time right now. So if you're willing to work for free, maybe do like a free internship, donate even a couple of hours a week just to learn a new skill, that can help you. So flexibility is extremely important during this time.
All right, excellent, thank you. And this is our last poll question. Please describe your feelings about entering the workforce at this time. Extremely confident, concerned, extremely concerned, or neither confident nor concerned. And I do have to say that after hearing from our panelists, I feel extremely confident because each of you have some great stories of how you overcame adversity and some hard times. So let's see what the students say here.
And as concerned.
Yeah. So what were you going to say, Arel?
No, I was just going to say one more thing. I think a great question to ask yourself when your plans change is just ask yourself over and over, what's the opportunity here? I think what the mind does is we focus on everything that's wrong about plans changing. Oh, I wanted to get my MBA, but I could not get past the GMAT. GMAT beat me up. Like I literally could get into an MBA program, but could not get a score high enough to get into the MBA program. And it like crushed me because I was like, well, I'm not going to make it in business. I'm a dummy. This score is proven. But then I asked myself, well, what's the opportunity here? And I was like, well, if I can't get into an MBA program, I have to start my own business and do that post-college. So that opportunity turned into the best thing that's ever happened to me. Not that the MBA program wouldn't have helped me. I'll never know. But I think the mind focuses on everything that can go wrong instead of us choosing to focus on what could go right. So I would encourage anyone, when your plans change, to just simply re-ask over and over, what's the opportunity here? What's the opportunity here? And you'll always find it, always.
Great advice. All right, we're going to go back to some more questions here. We're already at 6:20. This is going very quickly. I know COVID forced most of us to start working from home. What is something that has changed for the better in your lifestyle because of it? Who'd like to answer that? All right, Taris.
I'm working out, guys. So I am not very athletic. And my husband bought me a Peloton last year, the cycling bike. So I am working out 5 days a week. I wake up at 5:50 a.m. before everyone wakes up in the house because I have an 18-month-old. So I wake up and I work out 5 days a week, Sunday through Thursday, and then I have Fridays and Saturdays off. And I've been consistently doing that for the last 4 months, and I'm super proud of myself. So having the opportunity to take time for myself to focus on like health and wellness has been a great opportunity during this time because I don't have to commute. So now the time I would have been focused on getting ready in the morning, I can focus on working out and then preparing myself for the day. So I've absolutely taken the opportunity to get my health and wellness in check during this quarantine.
Good for you. And hopefully once we do go back, you're able, that's the thing I worry about, is once we go back, are we just going to go back to the old habits? I hope not. I hope we're learning a lot through
Fingers
this.
crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. How about you, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting. The silver lining in all of this, in my role, I am all over the world almost every single week.
Yeah.
So that, as I'm sure you can imagine, can be really taxing just on your body and also on your personal relationships too. So at home and with family. So the one silver lining here is, for better or for worse, I've been able to spend every single day for the last 7 months with the people that I love the most, right? So my family, my girlfriend, even my dogs at home, and all my friends. So that has been great because in no part of the last 15 years have I ever had 7 consecutive months where I'm actually able to see each other and do little things. So sometimes, we're really focused even on career. And I know this is a career oriented panel, but like we have other aspects of our life that we then bring into our careers, right? These experiences and relationships that we have. And so for me, it's been great to actually work on that part of my life that I've probably been putting off more than I probably shouldn't have in the past, but I'm glad that this has given me the opportunity to do that.
So are you missing airports yet, Justin? You can't wait to get back on that plane? Nope.
Maybe in like 2022.
All right. Arel, how about you?
No, I would say Taris and Justin nailed it.
Okay.
For me, my fitness game has stepped up tremendously since I've been home, which has been wonderful. And I used to spend about 200 days on the road. So to be home this much is like, it's awesome. And weird benefit, I know people say there's Zoom fatigue. I actually like it because normally I would do phone calls and now almost all my phone calls has transitioned into Zoom calls. So I see people I normally never would see. And I like that. I think it's cool.
How about you, Chris?
So first off, you all are an inspiration. I'll start on the fitness piece. This COVID has had the opposite effect on me. I'm a very structured, scheduled person. And so my overall fitness regimen has gone down dramatically, which is kind of embarrassing when I have a lot more time. But the silver lining for me, I know Denise mentioned at the start of the call, I'm a first-time dad. And so I've been able to spend, my son's only been around for 9 months, and I've spent the last 7 with him every single day. Typically, similar to the rest of the panel, I'd be traveling a lot. I'd be commuting, working really late nights. And I've just really treasured those memories and moments that you'll never get back.
So you can just blame it on the baby then. So it's nothing else, just the baby.
Yeah, that's my excuse.
That's it, totally. Like that, when he gets older, you're gonna say, you know why I wasn't working out?
I'm particularly inspired by Taris because I've been trying to sell my wife on us buying a Peloton bike for like the last year. I'm getting closer, but she...
Get it.
We just ordered
ever.
ours. I was like, before winter settles in, I need, because I do a lot of working out too, and outside running, and and I'm like, we need just to get something, because when there's 12 inches of snow out there, I'm gonna go nuts if I'm not working out. So, all right, we have a few more questions and only 1 minute. So let's see, what advice do you have for someone considering a career change after being in a field for 8 years? Is this a bad time to transition given the circumstances? Who wants to take Justin?
Yeah, I would say no, it's not a bad time to transition. I've certainly changed my career and my career trajectory and what I've been focusing on probably 3 times in the last 15 years. So about once every 5 years or so. So yeah, I would say it's certainly not at all a bad time. It really isn't ever a bad time to do that. Again, just remember what you've heard throughout this panel today is stay positive, continue to look for the opportunities where you can gain and gather those skills. And then if there is an opportunity that allows you to kind of pivot, take that, be humble, just take it, learn from it. And then that is the way you're going to ultimately be able to transition or change, So did it in school, have done it since then. It is definitely possible.
I recently heard a quote that I shared, and I'll just share it because I think it's really apropos to what you asked, that when you make those pivots, you're not starting over from scratch, you're starting over with experience. And that's fundamental to your success.
Great. Let's see, we had a couple more. We'll see if we can squeeze them in here. 2 more left. Do you recommend taking a gap year after college, especially during COVID times? Yes, Taris.
I would recommend it if you have a plan for doing something else. I wouldn't recommend it if it's just going to be a gap and then you're going to still need the time after to try to figure something out. So if you have a plan for what you're going to do during that time, whether you're preparing for graduate or professional school, whether you're writing a book, whether you're doing some traveling just to take some self-care time, have a plan. Just don't decide to take time off because you think the market is bad, and then you're going to be in the same position a year later. So definitely have some kind of plan for what you're going to do for the gap. But it's always helpful to get some additional experience, get some opportunity to learn about yourself even more. That gap year can be really cool for you if you have a plan and find something really awesome to do.
And our last question that I'll be able to take here because we're getting really close on time. And Chris, I'm going to give this to you. Would you say humanities students are better off taking additional courses in non-humanities areas like statistics or coding to have some familiarity with them?
I would say you're always better off by rounding out your skills and experiences. So if that means taking coursework in different areas, that's just more tools for your toolkit. So absolutely.
All right. Well, it looks like we are at time, and I can't thank you all enough. I know that the students have learned a lot through this, and I feel that the best part is you've given a lot of hope to people, that right now it's hard, and look at you for how successful you've been, and you all graduated during really difficult times. So thank you so much for taking the time. And just wanted to remind the students, we're here, the Fleishman Center is completely functional, operational, virtually. Our career consultants, the nice thing is now that we are being able to be flexible, some of our career consultants are watching their kids during the day, and at night they're available. So we have appointments available, I think starting at 9 in the morning to almost 8 at night. So take advantage of that. You can make an appointment via Hire Bing. And actually our office is open. Unfortunately, with social distancing, we can't do too much, but answer quick question. Was there a nice expensive plexiglass that we have that we talked about? So come and see us because we spent a lot of money on that. Also, we have an amazing amount of resources online. These last 5 months, we have created a lot of resources that are available to you 24/7. So please check them out. Thank you so much again to the panelists. Learned a lot, and everyone stay safe and well, and hopefully we'll talk soon sometime.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great evening.
Bye.
Best wishes.
Bye.